Hello. So in my previous videos in this series, I have tried to keep it straightforward and to the point as to what are the basic fundamentals and the most important information that a new player or pretty much anybody who's trying to play air arcade needs to know in order to win air arcade matches. In this video and the videos after this, however, I'm going to be talking more theoretical and philosophical kind of stuff. So it'll be like long form video essay type videos. I'll be putting gameplay footage running in the background for the most part for this video and some of the others that will come after this. Now, when I first started making the videos for this series, I didn't plan on making this video in particular about winning itself. I didn't think at the time that I thought it was self-explanatory, really, especially once I had given all the basic information needed in order to win. But recent events, especially in my squadron, and after discussing uh, things like this with my squadron CO, um, I feel that maybe just a short video just talking about winning air arcade, the strategies and the mindsets involved that are needed, it does warrant its own video. So this is what this video is going to be about. It's just going to be about winning air arcade matches. So if you look up my squadron's information page, my squadron name is CABS, C-A-B-S, the Big Stick Squadron. And if you look it up, the information description area states that our main winning strategy is to bomb ground targets. Now, the reason why that is, and it's not the complete truth to how we win our matches and we get such a high win rate. The reason for that is, as I have described in the videos before, most of the mission types for Air Arcade are ground attack missions. They're either going to be ground strike or frontline. So if you don't play the objective, in which case in both of them, if you want to win, it revolves around bombing things for the most part. Then if you don't do that, then you don't win. That's basically how it is. Now, if you do get into an air domination or an airfield domination match, then dogfighting is the name of the game then, and cabs can do that quite well as well. We don't do it to the kind of proficiency that I think we are capable of doing, and the videos after this about dogfighting and air combat tactics is going to be my take on it. The reason why I have much more interest in that is because my background for the game has been I've been more of a realistic air player. So when I started playing the game and I played it for many years, just focusing on air realistic, it was just purely air combat. So I have a lot of experience in that. And what I found is that a lot of those skills that you develop in air realistic, specifically for the air to air stuff, a lot of that can be applied to arcade. The same can't really be said for like arcade to realistic skills sets, but that's what I found. Now, once people hear about the ground attack part of our strategy, people automatically already think, oh, well, all you do is just go around pressing spacebar on bases, or if it's the ground units, you just drop bombs, and that's about it. Well, the thing about that, as I found, is it's not as simple as people try to make it out to be. Now, when I started playing with cabs, um, I thought to the same kind of like thought process that everyone else had was all you're doing is just going around and you're just dropping bombs on ground targets. That's about it. What's so great about that? What's there to learn from it? And as I played with cabs, what I found was that uh, if everybody could do it, then why doesn't everybody do it? Because you win the game, and if you win the game, you get double the silver lions and the research points, which at the time when I started for grinding the US tech line, that was really helpful for me. It wasn't so much with the British because we only played at around BRs 2 to about 5 around there. And I had already unlocked the jets for the British and was researching the British jets. But as I was starting out new, fresh on the US tech line, it was great. I was burning through the tech tree really, really fast. But as I've stated, if it were that simple, then why weren't a lot of people doing it? And as I developed my skills, I became pretty good at the ground attack stuff. So much so that I've become, well, some may say the best in the squadron. I'm not gonna, really give myself any titles or anything. I just do what needs to be done to win the game. Basically, that's all I'm gonna say about myself. But what I found out recently over the last year or so, as I've grown to get quite good at the ground attack mission, uh, my teammates who I know are trying their absolute very best can't get to the number of ground units destroyed that I get per game. And during the COVID times, when everyone was pretty much locked up at home, and War Thunder had a great big influx of players into the game, and servers were overloaded. We got a lot of matches against a lot of other squadrons that try to win Air Arcade as well. So every evening would be a competitive match for the most part. We'd be head to head with some squadron. At the time there were a lot more squadrons that did this. There were Russians, there were Americans, there were European squadrons, and those were really great times. And what I found was that I wasn't not only able to outbomb my teammates individually, and I wasn't only able to outbomb my opponents, the top ground attack opponent on the enemy team individually. What I found was that I was able to outbomb my whole squad combined, sometimes the whole team combined, and sometimes the enemy team. And I'm not just talking like the random people that play Air Arcade to go around and shoot aircraft. It was the competitive squadrons that I just mentioned. They'd bring in a squad of 4, and I'd be able to outbomb all of them together. So I guess I learned that you can't take for granted what anyone does in anything really, because I find it to be very trivial. At least I found it to be very trivial. But if that were the case, then a lot more people would be doing it. And so far, the number of people that are able to get the ground unit kill count that I can get, there are very few. I can count them on the fingers of one hand at this point in time. The other folks in the other squadrons that can do that. So that's something to keep in mind. You can't just look at it and say, oh, you're just going around ground pounding and pressing the space bar. It's a little bit more than that. So I took ground attack to be I took it for granted, like a trivial thing to do. But for making this video, I've had to reassess that evaluation. And what I found is that what I actually do in an Air Arcade mission for ground strike or frontline, you're not just going around pressing spacebars, dropping bombs, and getting ground kills, and you're not doing it in a sandbox environment. You've got a lot of things shooting at you. You've got the AAA on the ground now, which back in the day it was a joke. It was just there as a target. Nowadays, however, they are quite accurate and they do quite a lot of damage. They can be quite deadly. They can shoot you down. You're not only contesting with that, the enemy team is also trying to shoot you down, because most of the time, if they find you low as a bomber, that's an easy target for them. Also, they think you're an easy target, so they'll come down in hordes trying to get a kill. So what I've had to do is take a step back and reevaluate what it is I do. And what I found is that what to be a good ground attack player, and in order to win the ground strike and frontline missions, your mission type is penetrate the enemy air defense, because you've got to contest with the enemy aircraft that are trying to shoot you down, which there will be at some point in the game. Somebody's going to try to do it. You have to contest with the AAA on the ground that is a threat and you have to go into this airspace. You're going to have to survive for as long as you possibly can and take out as many targets as you can. So there's like really three things that you have to do. You've got to get in, you've got to stay alive, and then you've got to bomb the ground units. So you've got to do all these three. And I've done it for so long that it's become instinctive, and I never took the time to like really think about things. For me, it was straightforward and simple. We had to bleed the enemy tickets, so we had to bomb the ground units. Bombing bases wasn't a thing at the time. Looking at the history of the game through the forums and whatnot, at one point, I think in Air Arcade, base bombing was the go-to thing, but that was like really long time ago. I wasn't around for that. Um, but bleeding the tickets of the enemy by taking out the ground units, that was the most efficient. That was the meta, and it still is the meta, the most efficient way to win the game. And that's what I did, and I didn't think about it. And now that I think about it, not everybody has been able to see that, and not everybody's capable of doing it to the level that I and some other players can. Now, for those that are interested in learning some tactics and strategies that what most would consider to be unorthodox, I'll just put it here in this part of the video. I had a guy, I can't remember what his name was, but he was part of that group of players that played at the time when base bombing was the thing. So he had his lineup, and his strategy was to get through the enemy bases as fast as possible on ground strike and front line. Now, the thing about that is you need to keep in mind in front line, the bases and the ground targets, they don't relate in the same way as they do in ground strike. So let's say in ground strike, it is perfectly okay. And this is what me and this guy did. He would go for the ground bases, the strategic bases. And as I mentioned before, if you take one out, you get about 350 tickets. And if you take all four out, you get a bonus of 490. So if you take out all four bases, what essentially you've done is that you've gotten the amount worth in tickets of about 18 ground targets, right? And that's quite a lot. And so he would go do that, and I would go hit the ground targets. And what we found was that we could end matches really, really fast, sometimes faster than I would normally if I would play with my own squadron, going around just focusing on the ground targets. Granted, this was only at about BR 2.7, 3.0, 3.3, around about there. This was only possible because of the battle rating situation. He knew what aircraft had what kind of tonnage of bombs and what was the amount needed to take out the bases and how fast and how quickly, what kind of routes he had to take. He had that all planned out. That was how it was back when we did this. I think it was about a year and a half ago, around about there. Yeah, probably 2 years ago. So we went around and did that, and I mean, it worked out great. We won them very fast. The games were won very quickly. Where they really started lacking was in frontline missions because now the win conditions are slightly different. If he goes off and bombs bases, and I'm trying to complete the destruction of the enemy front line, they don't correlate because, as I've said in the Air Arcade overview video, bleeding tickets in a frontline match is a very rare thing to achieve if you're trying to go about the way you would in a ground strike match. Because once you completely destroy the front line, then you basically won the game. The tickets automatically start decreasing. And if he's going off bombing bases, he's not helping out with the front line. So that's something to keep in mind. But having a mix between base bombing and ground attack, if you can get the right guys to get it done very efficiently and very quickly, that is a kind of like a tactic that you can have that's a little bit different than just going for pure ground attack. For airfield domination matches, which is the out of the two air-to-air type missions, airfield dominations are more common than the air dominations. All right, so that's how the War Thunder matchmaker, the mission types are generated. Uh, so far that Cabs has found in its experience of playing the game over the last 2-3 years or so. In an airfield domination, all you need to do is land for the most part. You don't even need to like really kill enemy aircraft because more often than not, as we've noticed, not many people really care about landing at all throughout the entire duration of a match. So sometimes all you need to do is just land once on an airfield, and nobody, even if they manage to achieve control of the airspace over it, if the enemy manages to do that, they won't even land. They'll just uh, go off to the next closest enemy target and try to shoot it down. So you can get by without having get any kills, but still have impacted the game as long as you tried to land on the airfield and either gotten the capture or if you've neutralized an enemy airfield, made it neutral. Those all count, but they don't count the leaderboards. But uh, at Cabs and the way that I approach the game, I don't really care about the leaderboard standings. As long as we win the game and we win it fast and efficiently, that's all I'm in for. Now, a lot of people say that, well, that doesn't sound very fun, and that's that for me isn't very fun to go around just playing that kind of play style. Um, I suppose it's just a personal preference kind of thing at that point because I found it to be quite fun doing ground attack. Sometimes I find it to be quite relaxing compared to like the dogfight, furballs, and air domination. And I'm not alone in that because the entire squadron that I'm part of, that's what everyone's in here to do. It's just win the game. For me personally, if I lose, I don't like it. I don't like to lose. That's just how it is. So as long as we're winning, I'm having fun. That's the way that I've approached not just this game, but pretty much any game that I ever play. Uh, if you play to win, that's the whole point of it. You used to play to win because that's what you're supposed to do. I'm reminded of a scene from the Last Dance documentary. It's episode 9, I believe. The Chicago Bulls are about to play the Indiana Pacers in Game 7 of their series in the playoffs. And so it's Ahmad Rashad, the sports commentator. He's in the locker room with Michael Jordan. And he says this quote that really stuck with me. And it goes like, some can, some can't. That's just the way it is. And I found that to be very profound statement, especially in anything that is competitive, not just basketball, but any sort of competitive environment, especially in games, because that's what I spend most of my time doing is playing games, and I play quite a lot, and I play quite a lot of them competitively. I've played in tournaments, some of them at the national level. I don't, well, some of them I do okay at. I've never finished at the bottom, so that's a good thing, I suppose. I've gotten close to the top sometimes at the top, but that's beside the point. But yeah, some can, some can't. That's just the way it is. Uh, this part of the video isn't me trying to like apologize or justify the things that how the way I play the game or how my friends in the squadron play the game. Quite frankly, I couldn't give a damn what the other people say about what we do, especially with the ground attack, whatnot, because it's all unjustified for the most part. When we go into an air domination or an airfield domination, quite a lot of players in my squadron, well, they're all very good air killers, so it's game on, turn and burn. You're still not going to win either way. We're going to shoot you down. So, yeah, that's how it is. So that wraps it up for this video. Thanks for listening.